Hey vlog, my name is Eric Normand, and I run a business called PF.tv, and this is my journal of what I'm going through, decisions I'm making, things I'm thinking about, kind of where I want to take the business. Okay, big thing happened yesterday. Today's Saturday. Yesterday was Friday, and I just want to talk about it a little bit. So, my wife is in medical school, and we found out yesterday. It's match day. We found out where she's going to be doing her residency, and it was kind of a surprise and a shock to us that we're staying here in New Orleans. We've done a lot of work, spent a lot of money doing interviews and away rotations and things, and it turns out that all that did not pan out, and so we're staying here in New Orleans. I was very looking forward to going somewhere else, and it would be an adventure, but I'm actually quite happy to stay here too. It was going to be a ton of work to move, and it's part of the adventure of it is all the work you have to do, a lot of unknowns. And now that we learn that we're going to stay here, and it's kind of, there's nothing you can do about it, it's binding, that has it's complicated, right? Because basically nothing has changed for me except now I know I'm going to be here 4 more years, whereas before I was thinking that I might go somewhere else. So now that I know I'm going to be here 4 more years, we're going to keep the house. So I'm thinking, wow, I've been thinking about things that I could do to my studio, but didn't really want to invest in. And now I'm thinking about them again, and so I'm just starting to figure out like what I actually do want to do and make those decisions. One of the things is I need more storage. I'm quite sure I need more storage. The storage I have is not working, and I hate to invest in storage before I sit there and figure out what I want to keep out of the stuff that I have, because I have a lot of stuff that I almost never use. But it's probably easier to just find a way to store it than to go through it, which kind of sucks. And I was thinking if we were going to move, I would really seriously pare it down instead of moving it. But now that I'm staying here, thinking about the storage. The thing is, the stuff that I don't use, like occasionally I will use it. I don't have a bunch of junk. I do have 1 box of junk that I do need to go through. But the stuff that I'm actively going through a lot is just poorly organized. It's just like thrown in drawers because I don't have sections and things to put them in. So I'm thinking about that. The other thing is, my wife is very disappointed, and so I'm dealing with that too. Career-wise, it's not the best that she's staying here. She's been here at the same school for 10 years now, and she's now going to spend 4 more years at the school. And just the how do I put this? They don't give you a lot of support at the school, and so every year that passes where she's working and learning and just moving forward in her career without support, she's becoming less and less competitive. So it just means that you're less and less likely to ever leave. And it's not that we don't like New Orleans. We like the city. It's just the school is not the one we want to be at, or she wants to be at. So, even the next stage, she could get a job after residency, just work at a hospital or a clinic or something, or she could go to a fellowship. But fellowships and jobs, of course, are competitive, and so she's going to be competing with people who had a lot more support during their residency. And so, her opportunities for getting a better fellowship are down. So, like every year that passes is another year of lack of good support, lack of good training. So we've really got to think about what we can do about that. I'm wondering if there's someone that we could pay to give the support. The kind of support I'm talking about is like, for instance, she wasn't doing so well on her standardized tests, and so she went to ask the school for advice, for help, for, just tell me what I can do. I'm studying a lot. It's not like I'm not studying. I just want more help. And they just said, well, just keep on studying. Like this terrible advice, right? She's studying, like all her free time she's studying. She's not doing well. She needs something more. And they just don't have any staff who knows what they're talking about. It's a state school. They're just there phoning it in. And we went to talk to someone for financial advice, and what they said was stuff like, well, it depends on your situation. And they're like, yeah, that's why we're here, to talk to you about our situation so you can help us make a decision. And it's just, things like that. They're just... This is New Orleans. It's what we do. We're just like sub-mediocre. Yeah, well, there you go. So anyway, that's on my mind a lot right now. This was the risk we took in the way we applied to other programs. And so to me, this was a possible outcome that I thought through, and it was okay. But I'm now learning that, and even though we talked about this a lot, I'm learning that my wife didn't. Maybe she changed her mind, and it was too late. But because she's learned more about the program and is feeling worse about it than when we first decided, and then it was too late because the application process was, already a lot of the way through, and so, well, let's just say there's a lot of disappointment in the house. Anyway, so I've got 7 lessons done in the domain-specific languages course. I had to re-record one that worked well. I think I already talked about why I had to re-record it. It was basically a very complex subject, and I was relying too much on my regular workflow, but trying to show that you could do it in the terminal with that setup that I put together. And so just after doing it one time, I realized a way I could do it better. And so it's actually coming along. In an hour, you can turn an interpreter into a compiler, which is pretty cool. And so I have 2 things on the compiler. the next thing we're going to tackle is a Lisp interpreter, which sounds really difficult, but it's actually quite easy, especially since we've already seen some code walking in our Hiccup compiler. We've walked through an if statement and a for loop, or for comprehension. So we're able to do that. It's pretty cool. I mean, these are the things that make me happy in Clojure. So about that happiness thing, I've well, how do I put this? Okay, here's an example, because I don't know how to phrase this. I was thinking today, because I've got my daughter's out of the house, she's with her grandparents, and I'm able to I went to a coffee shop and I'm walking back now. I was able to take the day and kind of get some stuff done off my plate, which is something I haven't had a real chance to do, is like just work through a backlog. And it's nice. I'm ahead right now. I've got the Gazette done, which normally I do Sunday night. It's Saturday afternoon right now. So that means that on Sunday, all of that time that I usually spend like sort of after dinner, before bed, trying to put together a Gazette is all done, right? And I really want to move it to be something that I do during the week. But it's hard because, I don't know, it's a habit that actually works quite well, of doing it on Sunday. The reason I want to move it, though, is just to have a totally free weekend. Especially, I don't want to stay up late Sunday night working on that, because sometimes it can take a while. But thinking about it, I really don't have... Okay, I don't know how to say this. It's a good example because it's something that I know is good to do, to have this regular posting of an email and create regular content so people can rely on it and want it in their inbox, and they get used to getting it, that kind of thing. And sometimes I feel like I just phone it in, right? And sometimes I get tired of having to do it, because it's one of those things that it's not providing direct value to me. Right? Like it's not a course that I can sell. Each one is not that valuable. It's more valuable that it's a weekly thing. And it's basically saying, well, 2 hours of every week are now dedicated to this in perpetuity, right? And so I often try to make it overlap with other things. So it will be, these are the 10 things that I read this week, right? Or these are, I was researching the JVM platform for a course, and so here are the best resources I found on the JVM. Or here's the history of the JVM, which was kind of, an interesting thing to read. So I try to overlap it so that it doesn't require too much more work than I could do just by throwing together stuff I already have. And I've tried other things like making it an essay of something that I'm thinking about already. Those usually wind up taking a long time, so those don't work quite so well. But just realize that I don't have a lot of time to work on stuff that I'm not that into. So I really have to make this something that does not just double duty where like I'm just sharing stuff about the JVM, but it has to do like quadruple or quintuple duty. And one of those things is like emotional fulfillment, right? Like it really needs to, if I'm going to do this every single week, it really has to be something that I'm excited about, push one of my other desires, one of my other missions forward. And that just is going to just require a lot more like emotional work to figure out how to do that. As an example, one thing that I did the other week was this was a bunch of stuff I have been researching for a beginner closure experience, meaning how do you set up your REPL and your editor and stuff like that to be a really solid experience for a beginner. That means better error messages, better stack traces, all that stuff. So I threw together, I wrote a big essay kind of telling people like what is the idea. My main idea is like fast feedback. That is the essence of a good experience. It doesn't matter how bad your language is. If you have fast feedback, you can understand and get in tune with it, and just have a good experience. Fast experience is a good experience. And so I just wrote out that thing in there and in the Gazette, and shared all the tools I had found for it. And so that was really hitting like several different goals. It was this goal of helping people, helping beginners find a better experience. It's also my goal of having a weekly Gazette, and the goal of not making it take too long to produce, because I already had most of the material. And also, it's very satisfying to write an article like that really nails down my beliefs about what the experience, what I believe inside. And so, yeah, it's stuff like that. I just need to, it probably means a little bit more effort than I can do on a Sunday night when the deadline is due, right? I have to be thinking about it the whole week. And it doesn't mean spending more time. It simply means noticing, oh, this is something that could be a whole Gazette, right? If I'm working on, like just now, I was working on a little side project to get the ClojureScript compiler working in a web worker. So you could give it some code and it'll compile to JavaScript, and then the web worker sends back the JavaScript to the main thing, and then you can eval it. And the idea is compilation takes a long time. You don't want to block the UI thread. Okay. There's a bunch of complications there that would make an interesting Gazette, I think. Who knows? I don't know. A bunch of things to share there. But I just need to be cognizant of when I am working on something that could potentially do that. Just make a place for it, start putting resources in there, and then by Friday there should be enough there. And so this is all about efficiency and effectiveness and productivity, but it's also about that joy that I am trying to think about more. It's like how to maximize joy because, damn it, I spend so much time on this. There should be some joy. Joy is like self-motivation, right? You don't need extra motivation if you're getting joy out of something. Yeah. All right, so I'm really trying to push my assistant a little more. I think that there's once I started making this, it's not a hard rule, but realizing that I want him to pull stuff off of my plate and not letting myself be like, oh, I'll just do it myself. I really realized how much I do that, and so I asked. I'm putting together a podcast, and I asked him to figure out how to submit something to the iTunes podcast. And I had a link that I had already found, so I just sent it to him, like, here, read this. I didn't read it. I didn't even know what, I don't know what it says. So it's like, figure out how to submit a podcast. And so and this is on a Trello card assigned to him and everything. So then he comments back, I need your username and password to connect it, to put it on iTunes. And I thought about it for a minute, and I'm like, wait, that's not what I asked. I asked you to figure out how to do it. I didn't ask you to... Oh, it's raining. Oh, it's just a sprinkle. I asked you to figure out what needs to be done. Like, what are the steps? Not do it. So, I want it all to be ready before I give my username and password. I don't even feel comfortable giving him my username and password. So, like, I'm just thinking, like, do we need a nice description? What about a picture? I think iTunes requires a picture in their podcast. Like, those are the things I wanted him to figure out for me. And anyway, I'm pushing back on him and saying, like, listen, dude, like, you got to follow the instructions. I didn't say to do it. I said figure out how to do it. And, if there's... I haven't given him a podcast picture, so, I'm sure he's going to get stuck at that step, because I've looked at myself and I know that you need one. And so I don't want him to, like, ask for a thing and then get stuck at the next step, and then ask for another thing and get stuck at the next step, ask for another thing, get stuck. Like, I want him to tell me everything I'm going to need to do ahead of time. So I'm pushing back, and we'll have a meeting in the morning, and I'll talk to him about that. I'm not worried about publishing this podcast like so fast. Sometimes I worry about it, but I shouldn't be, because it's a long-term thing, right? It doesn't matter if it was a week later or whatever. I published the first video for Closure Sync. So that's good. The video platform seems to be working well. I'm going to check the stats, not because I care so much, but just to make sure that, it's working, I guess. I don't know. I just feel like that might give me some little bit of information. I don't care about how many people watch it exactly. Just want to know it's working. What I like about this system, I don't think I mentioned this before when I was kind of vacillating on whether to use it. The system is cool because I'm getting to be kind of anti-tracking, anti-analytics and cookies and stuff like that. So if you look at my site now, there's no Google Analytics or any kind of external JavaScript. And I like that this platform promises not to do that. So that's a good thing. And I'm I'm very happy that there is a platform that can do that. I've never learned much from the analytics on my site. Occasionally, I will learn a thing or two, like very occasionally, I will learn that that people are landing on a page that doesn't exist, right? That there's a URL in there that presents the 404 page, and so I can see that in the analytics. But the whole number of people visiting each page, I don't find much value in it, and it actually distracts from deeper work. So it's negative, the net negative. And I know if I've got millions of visitors and a dedicated person who can sit there and analyze it and try to find stuff in there, that might be useful, because at that point, any improvement, a 1% improvement or something in click-through rate on a buy button, that might actually be worth millions of dollars, and it would pay for their salary, right? But at my stage, I've spent a lot of time doing testing and analytics and not finding any big increase like that. That I would be better off just following my intuition and just following good copywriting practices and things like that, instead of looking for boosts in traffic by testing. So I've got all that turned off, and the same goes for Facebook. I've tried ads on Facebook, and they haven't really panned out. Now, I'm pretty sure it's just because I'm not very good at making ads on Facebook. But the more time I spend making ads on Facebook, the less time there is to make stuff that will actually sell, that I know how to sell. And I just don't think that they're that scalable, the Facebook ads. I would love to have something that was generating cash. People talk about, it costs $3 to get someone on your page, and then, if they buy something for $5, you're making $2 per person. And so just pour as much money as you can into it, because it's just infinitely scalable. I have very little hope of finding something like that. The number of people who want to learn Clojure, who are clicking on ads on Facebook, it's just not. I just don't buy it, right? Don't buy it. Not for the amount of time that I have to spend to find them, right? If I had a dedicated person on marketing, maybe I would let them run free with that for a while. But I've spent hundreds of dollars on Facebook ads with very little to show for it, so I'm not convinced. Okay. Yeah. One thing that is good about staying here in New Orleans is I know where I am, I know where I'm going to be, and I was accepted to speak at OSCON in July, and I was reticent to accept it because, if I was in another city and my wife was doing some new school program, and we didn't know, and the residency program, and we didn't know her schedule, and all sorts of unknowns. I just didn't want to add another big trip that I'd have to take that would, I just wouldn't know how to deal with it. But now that I'm here and we know where we're going to be for 4 years, and there's still time. I want to say yes. So I want to go to this thing. People have been saying really awesome things about OSCON. So it's in Portland, and it's a talk that I've already given. I just have to convert it to JavaScript instead of Clojure. So that'll also be good because I gave the talk over 18 months ago now. So it'll refresh my memory about it, make me convert it to JavaScript. It'll be even better than it was the first time. And yeah, that's it. It's been 30 minutes, so I'm going to go back inside. I've just been pacing around outside my house to talk with you lovely folks. All right, push those buttons. Tell the AIs what you love, what they should recommend. Just give me some love, please. And subscribe so you can hear the next one of these. Awesome. See you later. Bye.